Welcome to VoteProPot-Cast, brought to you by VoteProPot.com.
Kush for your tush. We'll give you the lowdown on hemp toilet paper, why cannabis juicing can be good for you. An ex-adult star takes over a church so the founder can focus on Christian weed. We have these and a whole bunch of other cool stuff for you here on this episode of Vote Pro Podcast. But first, Jay has a story about a Cannabis Cafe, don't you?
I do indeed. The city of West Hollywood made a landmark decision Tuesday when it approved a space within its city limits for what's billed as the first of its kind Cannabis Cafe. So we've discussed a lot on here about, having places where you can smoke in public, because that's obviously been a big issue. Andrew, is there anywhere in the country where you can partake?
Well, actually, Baltimore, they just, in Maryland, they passed, gave someone a permit where they're going to be able to have consumption on site.
Okay. Like at the dispensaries. Yeah, that's true.
We've seen it in Denver. In Denver, and I think there's some places in California.
Well, this is supposedly the first of its kind in the country in terms of a cafe set up specifically for that. In other words, it's not a dispensary, okay? It's called Lowell Farms, and it promises cannabis cuisine and a smoking area. So you're going to be able to buy cannabis-infused foods. They're going to have a nice, fancy menu, and you'll be able to partake.
Do you know, are they going to sell alcohol?
Absolutely not. It's against the law.
Okay.
Can't have both in the same building. So there's one minor issue here, and that is there's a synagogue across the street.
Oy vey.
Yeah, and they're not happy about it. So, but it was a resounding, unanimous approval by the city of West Hollywood to allow this business, Lowell Farms, as long as they promise to provide an air filtration system, which is similar to the ones they use like in Vegas and casinos. These are like some serious industrial
That's
strength.
all we need. A bunch of schmucks across the street getting high on their hooch.
Well, HVA systems, there's a calculation where you replace 100% of the air in the room in so many minutes. Yeah.
Right.
So if you wanted to, when they first made smoking illegal, some states are going, well, you could get around it if you did this. And it was like everyone's hair would be blowing up. I mean, it was like a small tornado going through
the building. Yeah,
but I think with edibles and vapes and maybe even dabs, where there's going to be a lot less smoke. The problem with smoking flower is that the aroma is so pungent that people, it's like a cigar.
Yeah.
Remember
it's
back
so
in the days when
noticeable.
someone would light a cigar inside a bar or restaurant?
Yeah,
everyone's going, gee, dude, man, I mean, I'm a smoker, but that cigar is just little.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on the other hand, there's a place where I go to get cigars sometimes that has a little
room
smoking area in the back room, and all these guys they got different ones. And they're puffing up, and the place is
pretty cool.
It's not full of smoke.
No.
They ventilate it pretty well, but it is what it is. I mean, it's.
But that's other cigar smokers. They're not really offended. I mean, you're not offended by cigar smoke if you're smoking a cigar.
Well, I think Phil's point is they have one of these filtration systems, because I've been in those cigar shops too, and they're not bad. Well, it says here.
Well, no, my point was that plus, if everybody's back there, smoking weed, smoking flower, it kind of works the same way. They're all They're not offended by it.
Sure. Well, the restaurant will be alcohol-free since state law prohibits the consumption of cannabis and alcohol on the same site. The doors should be open within months. A National Restaurant Association survey released earlier this year showed that plant-based ingredients, including cannabis and CBD, were considered some of the top trends in the industry. 66% of the 650 associated member chefs surveyed identified cannabis and CBD-infused food as the second most popular trend. What do you guys think the first most popular is? Trend. Cannabis-infused drinks. So we're on the map, guys.
We said that 6 months ago.
Absolutely.
How that drinkable consumables is going to be Huge. And especially, I can't wait till someone's going to come out with a margarita mix, like an infused margarita mix, or a Bloody Mary Jane mix.
Right.
So you can,
That raises an interesting question. What do you think about the ban on alcohol and cannabis in the same venue? I mean, does that sound reasonable to you, or is that like a compromise? I
think it's ridiculous. Personally, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, because some people might want to go in with their friends, and maybe they don't like to smoke, or they don't like cannabis. Maybe they want to order a beer, and their girlfriend wants to smoke a joint. I mean, I think it'll change over time, don't you, Andrew?
I think that the two drugs that are used simultaneously are cannabis and alcohol. It's the most popular combination of drugs people do.
That sounds right to me. I mean, that sounds like it would have to be true.
Yeah.
Another thing, I remember I was at an airport, I think it was in Europe, and they had like a glassed-in room for smokers. And I walked by, and you see all these people just puffing away. The room was had a haze in it. And I remember thinking it's like an aquarium.
Yeah, watching. Yeah.
People were in there hot boxing.
Yeah.
It was kind of sad.
Well, folks, tell us what you think about the Cannabis Cafe, the alcohol and cannabis conundrum, or any other topic that pops into your drug-addled little heads. No, I'm kidding.
Speak for yourself.
Please check us out at VoteProPot.com.
Yeah, we love to hear from you. Send us an email at podcast@VoteProPot.com. And we have a message line. We love when people call and give us ideas. We'll play it on the show. It's 240-257-2441.
Please like and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and now on Instagram. Just do a search for Vote Pro Pot.
In Minnesota, yeah, for sure, you betcha. A recently formed political action committee is working on making the economic case for legalizing adult use cannabis. It's a group called Cannabis for Economic Growth, and it was registered with the state of Minnesota, the Campaign Finance Board, back in April. The executive director, or the fellow who until recently was an executive director, Corey Day, executive director of the State Democratic Farmer Labor Party, DFL, registered the PAC after forming a consulting business with an organization called Blue Ox Strategies. I don't know. Oh, Blue Ox. That was Paul Bunyan's animal companion.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's a Minnesota thing. Corey Day is listed as the chair of the committee, while Minneapolis attorney Lawrence Wright is the treasurer. And their goal is to kind of talk about the economics of it all and try to get, passage kind of on the basis of that. They said taxation, revenue, entrepreneurship, how this is how this new economy is going to help the state. And their focus will be on less on lobbying the legislators in the Capitol, but it'll be more on persuading voters. And I think that's a great tack to take. I mean, you can go in there and hash it out with the legislators, and you may get some persuasion, or you may not. Nothing persuades politicians like votes.
Right on.
So, you can either go in and talk a blue streak and try to make them see the light, or, as they say, you can go straight to the voters and make them feel the heat.
No, we preach that all the time.
As of now, don't expect the Political Action Committee to be making any direct contributions to any candidates. And in general, that's kind of a lot of what PACs do, or a big part of it.
Well, I don't think our PAC's allowed to support a specific candidate.
Well, I don't know. I think PACs can contribute in accordance with campaign finance law, but I don't think that's their thrust here. I think what they're trying to do
convince voters.
They want to convince voters. he wants it to be the organization wants it to be bipartisan, and kind of judging or promoting or not promoting candidates, at least in part based on the issues of cannabis legalization rather than party affiliation.
Gotcha.
So, is there a ballot initiative allowed in that state?
I do not know.
Look that up.
But I think whether there is or not, getting public opinion to go your way is really that's what democracy is kind of best geared to do. Is you can talk to the muckety mucks in the state house, or you can let the voters do the talking for you. And I think that's a great way to approach this, and I think it's going to be successful.
I think it's great.
It seems that there's some states out there that a couple years ago we would have thought would never, ever legalize adult use or medical.
Yeah,
and we're being proven wrong.
Right.
We're seeing, for example, in Oklahoma. With their medical
definitely.
program, they might end up having one of the best medical programs in the country in a state that you thought would have never had it because of ballot initiatives.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Minnesota approved medical in 2014, but the legislature has not been anxious to jump on the adult use bandwagon.
Yeah, well,
they've introduced some bills. They've introduced a bill creating a task force.
Right, big deal.
Right. Task force to me. When they say task force,
that's called kicking the can,
or a study. That's right. It's been
5 years and there's no dispensaries open.
Well, Minnesota does not have. They do not have a ballot initiative or a proposal. Referendums in their state. So you'd have to do it through either legislation or amendment to their state constitution. So it's very difficult.
Well, so far Vermont's the only state that is legalized through legislature.
That's right.
Oh, is that right? They're all the others have all been ballot initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I heard that.
I heard that with my bad ear. Well, we do what we have to do, and folks in Minnesota, what you have to do is show your support. You may want to contact these folks at the DFL, the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, or Cannabis for Economic Growth, more to the point. And another thing you should do, and we said this already, but I'm going to say it again, go to VoteProPot.com, click our Take Action tab, and look at that page. There's a whole long list of great things that you can do to stay informed and be involved, and we really hope that you'll do that. Minnesota voters, jump on it.
There's a new study out studying cannabis and alcohol interactions on the internet. They're trying to get a gauge of how, after legalization, what's happening with cannabis use. So apparently the University of Georgia and Syracuse University, they sought a cross-commodity effect of legalization. So what they did, they went to a leading U.S.-based web portal from 2014 to 2017 and studied the number of interactions people had relating to cannabis, alcohol, or the tobacco industry. And it's interesting what they found out. They found out that after legalization, internet searches amongst teens stayed the same or went down. Amongst people, against adults over, I forgot what the age it was, but there was an increase of 17% of searches relating to how to use, how to grow, et cetera, et cetera. And another thing interesting, after legalization, searches about tobacco went up.
Huh.
Interest in tobacco went up.
Yeah.
Now, I have a theory about that because so many people smoke blunts and they mix tobacco with cannabis. And I think with all this legal cannabis coming in, people are just buying tobacco to mix with it.
Gotcha.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm sort of speaking out of my ass on that one.
Have you ever done that?
Yes.
Speak out of your ass?
Yes.
Many times.
I used to. I was a friend.
No.
No, I had a friend. I had a friend who was a chef from Italy. We used to work together, and he didn't like smoking weed unless it was mixed with tobacco.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never tried it. I know it's.
And then another chef,
Me neither.
friend of mine, and she was the first person ever to turn me on to ever smoked a blunt with, which is basically a cigar wrapping
Right.
filled with cannabis. And I personally don't like it. And also they say people who do that, when they go to quit, they have nicotine withdrawal.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would think.
What they're finding is basically when legalization happens, because people are now given a legal option to alcohol. And more people are now realizing alcohol. Some people have a real problem with alcohol, and it kills people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, where cannabis doesn't. It's interesting to see how, especially the alcohol that is bought just specifically for a buzz. The box wine, the 30 packs. But if a $100 bottle of Opus One, their sales probably weren't affected. Mm-hmm. So, but it's interesting, and more, they're finding more and more celebrities are coming out saying that, guys, I quit drinking. I just don't drink anymore.
Yeah, I've seen some of that online. You're right.
Right. I saw like Eminem. Right. Has been sober for 10 years. Robert Downey Jr. is been sober for a while. Bradley Cooper, he doesn't drink. Let me see who else. Rob Lowe has been sober for 25 years. Wow. And I just speaking for myself, back in 2011, I had heart surgery. And though the doctor told me it was okay to drink, I remember after the surgery, I was feeling better. I went out with some friends, I had a couple drinks, and I felt like shit.
Really?
I really did. And I just came out of a time when I was feeling bad a lot. So I was feeling better. Right. So I just really cut down on alcohol. And I'm from the bar business. Right. I mean, I
used to do pretty well pounding them.
Right. And I was a social drinker. Right. And then when I lived in New York, we would go out 4 or 5 nights a week. Right. So when I found that I quit drinking, I physically felt better. I felt better mentally. My mind was clear. Mm-hmm. And I just, when I did something recreational for health, I just used cannabis and wake up the next morning feeling great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're seeing that more and more. And who's like Charlie Sheen? He's been sober now for over a year.
Get at it.
And that was a big deal. He had a major substance abuse, but as we did an article, he's smoking weed and he's invested in a cannabis company.
Mm-hmm. Good for Charlie and all of the folks who are, and not just the celebrities, but the people who are discovering this changeover. I think it's a healthy thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think more and more people are coming to the realization that excessive drinking is really bad. A glass of wine, or a beer with a meal, or you sit down with some buddies, watch a ball game, drink a couple beers. Yeah, but it's especially during the weeknight, people who drink in a 6-pack plus or half a bottle of liquor every night during the week, that's where the problem lies. But if you just have one cocktail a couple times a week, I mean, that you're okay. Same with cannabis. Smoke a little cannabis every now and then, it's fine. But if you're waking and baking and smoking, a quarter ounce a day,
definitely,
that's going to have an effect on your life.
Moderation is not,
right.
Everything in moderation, including moderation.
A former adult film star, a porn star, has traded her racy occupation in favor of Christ. So this story is what gives cannabis people, pro people who have their shit together like us, a bad name. Okay? So De La Mora joined the XXX Church, a Christian church in California that purports to help individuals stop making or consuming pornography, and married the church pastor, Richard De La Mora, in 2016. The couple began to preach together in San Diego. So this woman was a porn star I looked her up online because this article doesn't get too deep into it. She was a porn star for years. She was addicted to meth, heroin, cocaine, various other drugs. And she witnessed one of her ex-boyfriends being murdered, shot to death by some rival biker gang. So she's a piece of work, basically. This guy started a church who wants to, supposedly for Christian reasons, combine cannabis. But when you look a little deeper into this, what they're really doing is selling CBD. So they've got this website. She's taking over as the preachers of the church, so he can concentrate on the website, which is really a place where it appears they're selling products like CBD oils and all this stuff. So, these kind of stories, it just contributes more to the stigma, and it doesn't help the reason why we're here, to show that this is legitimate medicine. It's a legitimate recreational product that's not going to do what meth and heroin and cocaine do to you. But people like this getting press, and I've seen this story in several places. Anyway, what do you guys think about it?
Well, what is the problem that you have with it?
My problem is I think they're a couple of phonies. I mean, they're claiming to be Christians and they're claiming to have this church, but really what they're doing is setting up a network that's like a pyramid scheme to sell CBD on their website or whatever products because it's legal.
Well, are they doing it fraudulently?
Are they in California?
Yes, they're in California.
So it's legal sales.
But is their cannabis products operation a fraudulent one, or is it just money raising?
I think it's money raising, but I think it's under false pretenses, don't you? I mean,
well, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't
know the facts of the case, but I mean, I'm a Christian,
right?
And I don't see a problem with going from pornography and drug abuse and murder to
no, I don't
faith
either, Phil.
in God.
That's not my point. That's not the point at all. The point is my point is whether this is a real effort on his part or whether it's just a scheme. You know, these are
they sincere or is it a scam? Now I'm an atheist, and I sort of think that are these guys? Is it a scam or is it a niche? I mean, are they sincerely believe in the philosophies that Christ preaches, and they think that cannabis can help people, and are they sincere? I don't know. I think they might be sincere.
Well, I think that's the question. Yeah. And Jay, your position is that
I'm skeptical.
It seems like they're not.
I think they're out for publicity, and I think they're using that publicity maybe to fatten their pockets and make a living rather than maybe the ideals that they claim.
Well, everyone needs to make a living.
Right. Including porn stars.
Well, including ex-porn stars.
Okay, right.
And the living she was making is a lot worse than the living she's making now. So, I mean,
good point.
I think it's all depends on the details of what's actually going on with that. Is it suspicious? I don't know the details of it, but just the facts that you've presented I don't have a problem with that.
Why does she have to tell everyone that she's a former porn star?
Well, why is a church? Why is a church?
Well, I think to attract other former porn stars to get them out of the business.
Well, why is the church called the XXX Church? I mean, I don't know.
Well, see, I wouldn't have called it that.
Exactly. It's not all about faith. There's definitely a financial aspect at play. As the website announced last month that it had a new sister company, Christian CBD, that would sell cannabis products to believers. I don't know. I guess I'm skeptical by nature, so...
Well, they're definitely walking a line here.
Yeah.
So, who knows? I mean, it all depends on the people involved and the operation involved. So
you're right, Phil.
It could be a scam, or it could be legitimately trying to attract people away from harmful,
let's hope,
degrading lifestyles to something better. Who knows?
Well, I think this is an example of people getting into the industry for different reasons. Some people get into medical because they really believe in it, and some people get into it just to make
a lot of money,
to make the money, and some people are getting in it just to make a fast buck. And those are the people that are taking advantage of the situation and giving everyone a bad name.
True.
Tell us what you think about this, folks. Go to our webpage, go to the down to the bottom where the comment section is, and leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. Send us an email. We want to hear from you.
A German man moved to Jamaica and opened up a hostel. And being like most of us and concerned with the problem with plastic pollution in the oceans, he's offering everyone at his hostel or on the beach a free joint if they bring a bucket of trash to him. So he's recycling and giving weed out as a prize.
Man,
I think that's a great idea.
It's great. It's great.
Give people an incentive to clean up the environment. I love
Me too.
He has signs up that says 1 free spleef for a bucket full of trash. Now,
that's always been one of my favorite cannabis terminologies, spleef.
I know, I haven't heard it in a while.
And I think it almost has to come with the word man.
Yeah. Now, Jay and I know when we were 19, we would have collected 10 buckets a day.
Well,
you guys again? Jeez.
Right.
Yeah, I knew a Jamaican friend back in college, he would call them spliffs, or you'd say a splivvy. Burn a splivvy with me, man.
Speaking of the environment, I read an article about hemp bathroom tissue and paper towels as well. But there's some interesting facts in here I didn't know about. The toilet paper industry is a significant threat to forest and the environment. A February report from National Resources Defense Council shares how leading toilet paper and paper towel brands are predominantly using wood from Canada's old-growth boreal forests, resulting in fewer trees filtering greenhouse gases. According to the Ecological Agricultural Projects, an acre of hemp will produce as much pulp for paper as 41 acres of trees over a 20-year period. So that's 1 acre to 41 acres over a 20-year period.
Wow.
Well, because you can replant hemp so often. In addition, natural organic hemp fiber is recyclable 5 to 8 times, unlike the petroleum-based paper alternative that can only be recycled up to 3 times.
So basically what you're saying is so they can grow an acre of hemp, which they can harvest once a year.
Right.
And that would be the same as doing 4 to 5 acres of 30-year-old hardwood.
Right.
And its entire habitat.
Exactly.
Right.
And you're wiping out, hardwood.
Right. Because an acre of hemp is nothing but hemp. But when you're going into a forest, you're knocking down every other tree, or maybe not knocking down all the trees, but you're destroying the habitat for many animals and other trees. And
apparently there are other advantages having to do with city water systems and how waste is disposed of.
Yeah, less chemicals.
Way less
chemicals.
I think the technical term for this situation is no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Well,
I mean, this is a no-brainer.
What's the texture? There is a big question. What's the texture like? Is it soft?
It says it is. It says it is.
So it is what? It is. It's comfortable. And
yeah, supposedly as softer than the paper they produce now.
See, because I got to have
that.
Man,
me too. Quilted, man.
Can you get some that has added CBD oil?
For hemorrhoids? No, can't help you there, buddy.
I don't know why, but I'm sure people would buy it.
It says here, hemp toilet paper also goes through less chemical processing, Andrew just mentioned. It doesn't need bleaching or additional chemicals like formaldehyde, which is of particular benefit to individuals with vaginal sensitivities or hemorrhoids. So you're covered on both cases there, Andrew.
I have one of those two things, and
let me guess which.
We'll just leave it at that.
All righty.
An increasing number of women, according to a report by NBC News, are using cannabis before becoming pregnant as well as early in the pregnancy. And this is according to a new study published Friday by the Journal of American Medicine. Now, we are in many ways proponents of certain products and practices with regard to cannabis, but not all cannabis use is healthy cannabis use. The findings from the Kaiser Permanente, Northern California, based on reports from nearly 300,000 women living in California before recreational marijuana was legalized there. The women were asked about their cannabis use at their first prenatal visit. And the data shows that the prevalence of women who reported using cannabis during the year before pregnancy grew from 6.8% in 2009 to 12.5% in 2017. So it's up. The number of women who said they used marijuana while pregnant was much smaller, thank goodness. However, that prevalence also increased from 1.9% in 2009 to 3.4% in 2017. Now, there is no evidence that cannabis is safe for pregnant women. Lead author of a new report and research scientist with Kaiser Permanente, Kelly Young Wolf, said, "We do know that cannabis crosses the placenta and reaches the fetus. So, ladies, when you're getting high, you're getting your unborn baby high, too."
Well, and we know, I think we know that cannabis is not good or may not be good for developing brains. We've talked about that. We don't think kids should smoke
That's
weed.
right.
Well, there's many things that aren't good for the developing mind and body.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like kids shouldn't do drugs, smoke cigarettes,
Absolutely
drink
not.
alcohol,
Absolutely.
or smoke pot.
Right.
Right. So, and I think in recent years with studies coming out and, health warnings, more and more women are being much more vigilant about caring for their bodies during pregnancy. And that's a good thing. But this is something that cannot be overlooked. A lot of women, they stop smoking, they stop drinking, all good stuff. You really need to not use cannabis while you're pregnant.
Well, the statistics you said earlier, now use before pregnancy or during conception, I'm sure has gone up because it's legal now. And more adults, we're not talking about kids here, we're talking about adults.
That's right.
And they're smoking more because it's legal. So that statistic, that great increase really just shows that more people are smoking cannabis as a rule over alcohol or in legal states. But during the pregnancy, and I think do you think maybe because they're hearing all these wonderful health benefits of
That's
cannabis,
a good point, Andrew. Yeah.
and they're not hearing anything bad about smoking during pregnancy.
Yeah. They assume it's safe.
So more women are trying it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's it.
We know alcohol is bad.
That's right.
For excessive alcohol use by a pregnant woman
Will harm the fetus,
cause will harm us to the fetus. But there's really we don't know yet. We're going to have to wait 20 years for these kids, see, can the kid, do a crossword puzzle or, I don't know. Now, Phil, your mom smoked a lot of weed when she was pregnant with you. Has that affected you?
My mom didn't know what the hell weed was when she was pregnant with me. Young Wolf, the researcher, told NBC News that more frequent use during pregnancy may be associated with worse health risk for the babies. She said, quote, there is a substantial evidence that cannabis use in pregnancy is associated with lower offspring birth weight. And that right there is an indication that something is not right. So,
what about juicing, or what about CBD products? Something that's not where there's no psychoactive effect.
Well,
I think some of these women might be doing that.
She goes on to say, that's a great question. She goes on to say there is reason to think that perhaps the risks vary depending on how women are using cannabis. And there's been an increase in alternative forms of cannabis consumption in recent years, like vaping and edibles, she said.
Well, because there's a big difference between eating and smoking.
There is.
And how the body processes the THC. And we know when you eat it, it goes through your liver. When you smoke it, it goes through your lungs. And I think maybe the edibles, it seems to me, would have a greater effect on a fetus, because it's going to be 100% of it's going to be in the bloodstream. And,
I think if I was a woman, if I were a woman and I was pregnant, I don't think I'd do any of it. I wouldn't drink. I wouldn't smoke. I wouldn't ingest cannabis of any kind. I'd change my diet. I mean, you'd want to do the best you can,
Right.
Pregnant women or women contemplating becoming pregnant, according to this study, should be encouraged to discontinue use of marijuana for medicinal purposes in favor of an alternative therapy, for which there are better pregnancy-specific safety data. So, we want to, tell things the way they are, and when something is healthy, we'll say so. And when something is unhealthy, we're going to say so as well.
Well, I think when they start doing more cannabis research, this is one area they definitely should do have a priority.
Sure.
About studying this, because I remember years ago. Have you ever heard of Dr. Andrew Weil? He's sort of he preaches a more holistic approach to health, but he also says if you break your bone, go to the hospital and get a shot, get a cast. I mean, traditional medicine, you should do both. And he was saying that as far as lowering stress, he was sort of saying maybe a little bit of cannabis during pregnancy may be beneficial, could help with nausea. He was saying, but just a limited use. Now, this was years ago. This is over 10 years ago, and before anyone had studies. And he was a big organic, holistic guy. So I think there's mixed messages out there. And I think some people might be thinking, a little bit, it's better than having a glass. They tell you can have one glass of wine. What's the difference between having one glass of wine or just taking a pop off my vape pen, Just to, just to bring the anxiety down a little bit.
Exactly.
And
I think
nausea,
there's more.
I think would be a big one.
Right, which is, an issue. But that's a great point. And I think this is an area where more research needs to be done. But Young Wolf said that these findings represent, quote, an opportunity for women's health clinicians to provide education about the potential harms with cannabis use during pregnancy to all women of reproductive age, and particularly those who are trying to get pregnant, end quote.
Well, one of the interesting things coming out now in research, and it's related to cannabis, but it's not related to the plant or testing the compounds. What they're doing is they're taking data from hospitals, like Kaiser Permanente is doing it. They've got vast wealths of data from the past 20 years, 30 years. And I forget the name of the type of data, but essentially it takes every patient and extreme detail, their age, their sex, their race, what, medical maladies they may have, what medications they're taking, surveys, all this is into a database. So there's now a few research companies that are using this data to put together, the results related to matters like this with cannabis that aren't just testing the plant. It's actually testing data on patients over a long period of time. So one of the questions they ask on the survey is, during your malady or during your ailment, did you use marijuana? So they ought to be able.
And how long have you been using it?
How much did you use it? All that shit. So they ought to be able to go back through these records with women who, during their 9 months of pregnancy were asked that question and process the data and see. At least it's a start to kind of find out what kind of effects are out there. I've been reading a lot of really interesting studies they're doing on cannabis because this is a question that they've been asking on these surveys for about 20 years now. So it's a lot of data, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of patients.
You guys went through pregnancies with your wives. So, and right. I never have, but the women that I do know, some of them,
a couple barmaids. Just kidding.
Some of the women really struggle with nausea, with morning sickness. I mean, it's horrible. And I know what it's like to sit in there dry heaving for hours. I can see some women going, man, if I just take a couple hits off a vape pen, this nausea will go away. And so the kid's not going to be a mathematician. Big fucking, big deal, I don't know. I mean, you're in pain. Sometimes you make
all right. So
allowances.
My kid's going to be a roofer.
Make compromises. Yeah, he'll be a roofer or a keyboard player or something.
All right, the kid will be a guitar player. Shit.
You're cold, man. Well, we're going to post the findings from the American Medical Association that this report cites on our show description. And we encourage people who are in this situation to check it out and, do what's best for your children.
There's more research being done in juicing raw cannabis.
Oh, one of your favorite topics.
Right. I really like this idea. And I've read some stories and studies about people getting really positive results from taking raw cannabis and juicing or pressing it or juicing it, putting it in a blender, I guess. So what they're saying that if you take 500 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams of non-psychoactive THC and CBD, or THCA or CBDA, that's before it's been decarboxylated and it's not psychoactive. Mm-hmm. And now you can get a greater medical response by getting those increased levels of THC that you couldn't take. Now, you're not going to do 500 milligrams of THC if it's been decarboxylated. It's going to knock anyone on their ass. But if it hasn't, you get all the benefits without getting the buzz, just as long as you don't heat it. Mm-hmm. Now, what they're saying is, they say what you do is take 2, freshly picked buds and about 20 leaves and juice it. Now, they're also saying you can add fruit juice to make it a little more palatable.
Yeah, that's the first thing I think of, Andrew, is like that.
Yeah, you juice it, you mix it with some, honey or juices, whatever, you want to mix, make a smoothie out of it or juice. And then they say put it in an airtight container and put it in the refrigerator and drink like a third of it with each meal. And so that's what they're but the problem is like no dispensaries are selling
whole plant,
fresh leaves, whole plant. And also I think probably the shelf life of once it's juiced is you got to like keep it refrigerated and drink it quickly, And God knows over time it might start decarboxylating. Who knows, you know?
Interesting.
So, but what they're doing, some dispensaries around the country are starting to sell clones. So you can buy, a good female clone and take it home and grow it. And then
I dated a female clone once.
I dated her sister. So, but anyway, so also it's good to grow your own. This way, there's no pesticides or fertilizers in there. And I just think it's a great idea. That's why I really think they should allow medical patients to grow.
So what kind of ailments is he recommending this for, Andrew?
Well, I've heard that this is really good for Crohn's disease and some people are having luck with lupus with it. Mm-hmm. I think maybe it sort of seems like issues of the stomach might,
gastrointestinal.
Or who knows? I guess you could take this juice and also use it as an enema for colon cancer, I guess.
Interesting.
A cannabis colonic.
Yeah, I guess you could.
There's a business plan for you.
We should market that. You can be the tester.
Well, maybe they could do, maybe put some of it on that hemp toilet paper.
Right. Talking about getting high up the wazoo.
Well, it absorbs. It absorbs the time. Apparently kids are doing vodka enemas in colleges or high school parties. And they get drunk. And I don't know. And it seems to me you would pass the breath. You could be trash and pass a breathalyzer because there's no alcohol in your stomach, unless it
How's that?
Makes its way all the way up.
Morning constitutional though? Holy moly!
I think we just cut this segment out. This part out. I think this just didn't go where I thought it might. No. Okay. So anyway, growing your own cannabis for juicing purposes, I think is a great idea, and I think that's something should be taken into account when legislation and regulations are being written up.
Well, we appreciate, as always, you're taking the time to check out our podcast and spend some time with us. We hope that you enjoy it. If you did, we really hope that you'll turn a friend on to VoteProPot-Cast. Absolutely check out our website at VoteProPot.com.
And we are a not-for-profit organization, folks. We don't make any money doing this. We do it because we believe in the cause. You can help us out. You can help us out by going to Apple Podcast and giving us a 5-star rating. And send us an email at podcast@VoteProPot.com.
We'd like to hear from you. We want to hear your ideas, if you have any comments, and also if you'd like to help out in any way. There's only 3 of us on the bandwagon. There's plenty of room. And you can do so on social networking. So please like and follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. What's the other one? Instagram? Yeah, that's right. Just do a search for VoteProPot.
Wish I was up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sensimilla at the beginning of the day. But here I am in New York City, hiding out in Central Park, getting kidnapped by the police today sometime before dark. But I wish I was up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sensimilla at the beginning of the day. The judge looked down upon me, frowned. He said, "Kid, get on your way. Just don't start out your morning with espresso and a J." I said, "I wish I was up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sensimilla at the beginning of the day." Hitched on out to Portland, caught a ride up to BC, took the bus over to the neighborhood to have a bowl with my coffee. Now I'm up in Vancouver at the Cannabis Cafe, smoking good old Sensimilla at the beginning of the day. Smoking good old Sensimilla